four sessions in this conference, two yesterday and two in the pre-lunch session today. I welcome the panelists for the next session. The session is about entertainment and inoculating the society from its corrosive impact. We have amongst us some very eminent panelists. First of all, I would like to request Shri Priyadarshan ji. He is a veteran filmmaker across the language divide in Mumbai as well as in Chennai. Welcome, sir. We also have amongst us Srimati Sukanya Ramesh. She is a very well-known, well-appreciated star of the Tamil film industry and known across the peninsular India and North. And then we have Major Ravi. Major Ravi has served in the armed forces as a commando, and he brings that experience to filmmaking. A very popular filmmaker. This panel seems to be skewed towards peninsular India, which is fine, because I think filmmaking and entertainment content generation is skewed towards South India. They have, in fact, Telugu film industry, if I'm not wrong, has had the honor of making more films than Hindi film industry in certain years. And that was remarkable. In fact, Andhra Pradesh, whether now Simandra and Telangana are combined together as erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, had more cinema halls per capita than any other place in India, in Bharat. That itself is a tribute to how mature and evolved film industry and entertainment industry in Andhra, in Telugu is. The maximum number of films dubbed from Telugu into other languages is all, from one language to other is also the honor goes to Telugu. I am waiting for the fourth panelist, Santosh Desai, a very eminent advertising pro and a thought leader in terms of consumer trends, in terms of how the marketing, the advertising is complementing entertainment in order to impact society, impact social values and behavior, impact consumption itself. But as I said, he's expected, he's en route, and we hope he catches this session in time. I'll be here to moderate in his absence, so welcome to this session. First of all, I would like Major Ravi to speak on the issue. He brings a certain point of view to entertainment, and that point of view comes from his background that he brings to generating content, and that's where he's going. My apologies, I think it is in order. Major Ravi was commissioned as an officer in Army in 1980. He joined NSG Commandos and did major counter-terrorist operations in Kashmir, Punjab and Sri Lanka. He was the operation in charge to nab the killers of late Rajiv Gandhi. He was awarded the President's Gallantry Medal. Major Ravi joined the film industry and directed 9 films till now. While 5 movies are patriotic films based on Army, the remaining were on social issues. He's won Kerala State Award for Best Patriotic Film and the Best Director. Now involved in social activities and motivating youth on patriotism and cultural values. I present to you Major Ravi.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And with the permission of my Guru, Priyadarshan, I learned film from him. First of all, people ask me that, have you got any PowerPoint? I said, I don't have any PowerPoint. I got only the willpower. So, being a commando, let me just briefly give you that what I am. I'm a 9th standard dropout, 10th standard failed again. Then I ran away from my home, reached Bombay, worked in a hotel as a waiter for 1 month. Then I joined army as a soldier. So with the qualification of 10th standard failed. After joining army, in fact at that time I was not a patriot. I joined army for that 210 rupees salary. I didn't have any spirit of, I'll die for this country or something like that, nothing. But after the training, I realized that without me knowing, I became a patriot. Because when my parents used to call me for their functions, I said, no, I can't come. That time I realized that now my priorities have changed and I became a patriotic Indian. So that is what is, I believe in that. We don't know when we are going to become patriots. Secondly, if someone says, I'm a born patriot, I don't believe in that. It's all the situations and our sanskar, what we call it as the Indian Sanskriti. We call it, Indian, we are not supposed to use it. Bharatiya Sanskriti, jo hai. This is what I believe in. Because I believe my parents, my teachers, and everybody like that. That is what is diminishing now. After joining army, when I picked up my promotions and stuff like that, within 3 years I completed my 10th standard pre-degree and graduation. First year when I was studying postal, I got commissioned. In 80 I joined the academy and I got this BA graduation from Jawaharlal Nehru University and I became an officer. Then in 98 I joined the NSG Commandos. So that was the time this country was burning, that is basically Punjab and Srinagar. The first operation which I did was rescuing Mufti Muhammad Saidi's daughter, Rubaiya Saidi, when she was kidnapped. Then I realized how this government can be so selfish. When it is a matter of the minister's daughter, they don't trust anybody. They wasted all the money spending on me, making me a commando. Then they say, you go and sit there. We cornered these militants, 5 of them. Afterwards, they were released from the jail, whatever the demand they did it. And that released people were the people who kidnapped, who did this hijack of the camera. So what damage that time the government has done? Sorry to say that. History, I was taught that the Congress was something great and everything. But then when I started realizing through my service, I realized the biggest damage done to this country was by the Congress. I don't hesitate to say this thing. Why? Because I used to admire Gandhi and all this thing. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi is still I admire. But Nehru's time when it came, then I found why this partition happened. Today what we are facing is this India-Pakistan partition and this Hindu and Muslim separation. Why this thing happened? This thing happened because of the partition, the selfishness of somebody to hold this chair. Then the partition happened and today, till today we are fighting for it. Nothing happened. People carried the names and Gandhi, Gandhi, Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi has done a biggest mistake by adopting that Feroz Gandhi. Because they have played it very well. This Gandhi name will be sold to this uneducated crowd of this India. And that was carrying for the last 68 years. Now suddenly last week they realized that's not working out. So they brought out Nehru's 125 birth anniversary and they all realized my grandfather is Jawaharlal Nehru. They want to tell everything. Then they got this atrocity and that shows Indian Prime Minister is not called. All of a sudden, then what party he is, I'm not bothered. I'm not a political man. But as an Indian Prime Minister, if somebody is insulting inside India, Imam of this, what is happening, 22nd he is planning something and he called even Pakistan Prime Minister. So, which is this country, what we have come to? This is what I realized when I was in the army. So many operations. I would like to tell you that even today, I want to ask you one question. When Rajiv Gandhi assassination happened, I have got these people, Murugan, Nalini and all these people whom you people sentenced to death and finally decided to send them back home so that tomorrow when I watch a film in the multiplex, Murugan will be sitting to my right and left will be Nalini and asking that, you idiot, why did you waste your energy? Yeah, that will be asked. So I'll just say, okay, my government told me to do like this, so I did it. Now, don't you think that my life is at risk? I don't care because I believe in one thing that death comes only once and Major Ravi will be like this always. I don't care for it. Even today my country calls me because I'm retired for the last 16 years. but I'm not tired. I'm still energetic. Why? Because anytime if my country calls me, that's the time, first person, without asking any rewards, I'll be there. In Kashmir or any jungles you send me, I'll be there. So this is a kind of patriotism which I wanted to generate in the youth. Unfortunately or fortunately, I happen to be from Kerala. Now, any filmmaker, when I tell a story about this patriotism, first they ask, how many item numbers are there? Abey yaar, how will I do item number in the barracks? Now I don't know how to do that. Now item number is gone. Now what nuisance? Smoking. In all my 5 films, ladies and gentlemen, nowhere the Phajis are drinking or smoking. All 5 films. Never I showed. Because I as an army man, 23 years of service, I never drank a single peg. Not even a drop. I'm a non-drinker. Because I always believe in that. Suppose if I had a couple of drinks at the evening and suddenly 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock my country calls me for an operation, I can't say, sir, I'm swazzled up and now I can come out. Because I was sincere to my work, what I was doing. Gentlemen, the films which I created, Kirti Chakra, and now I'll tell you a simple example of how the patriotism was generated through my films. Kirti Chakra is a film which people believed in Kerala that it will not run. I thank Mohanlal for this thing. Why? Because the moment he heard the story, everyone opposed. Why are you doing an army film? No army films work. Because army people were a mockery. All comedians. Mooch hai, poonch kata hua ek kutta hai, and one stick is there and they'll be walking around, all these characters. This is what's the comedy which was happening. But I made a very serious film. That was the film which I made where I got my President's Guarantee Medal. That operation I made it as a film. Where I showed that what is the Kashmiri militants. I wanted to awaken the Muslims of India who thinks that when the Pakistan cricket match wins against India, they sway the flags and enjoy this thing, and I wanted to stop them and tell them that, listen man, the Pakistanis don't consider you Indians as Muslims and they consider you as Indians. This I could manage to convey through that film. When the film was about to release, my distributor happened to be a person who had been distributing all these yellow films, you know, like this item numbers and all this thing. So he couldn't understand the sanctity of my film. When it was releasing, he said, Malappuram, Calicut and all this thing, it will not run. We got the highest collection from Malappuram and Calicut, which happened to be the Muslim complete lobby. And that area we collected about 3.5 crores profit. That means, if you tell them that, listen man, we mean our business. Hindustan agar hai, to Pakistan us side mein bhi hai. That means, if you are in Hindustan, behave like a Hindustani, not like a Muslim or Christian or anything. This is I convey. Second film, in Kurukshetra I made of Kargil War. Kargil War, there was the last dialogue of my hero, that is Mohanlal. When he crossed the LOC about 10 kilometers inside, we started recovering the places from them. Suddenly, as usual, there will be a call coming from the government. Ceasefire. Why? Because Pakistan said ceasefire. The moment we started entering into their territory, till then they will keep keep scratching it. The moment scratch becomes and we start cutting their hands, then they say, oh, Allah ki kasam, humne to haath upar khada kar liya. Bas. Ceasefire karo. Ceasefire. Now there is a dialogue which I have written. My hero, Colonel Mohanlal, will say that, sir, ceasefire order is fine, but now we are 10 kilometers inside the Pakistan territory. What do you call it? Pakistan, it is not Pakistani territory, which they captured us, from us, LOC. I'm standing there. And if you are going to give me an order like 65, 71 wars, like Indian army has captured hundreds of kilometers inside, and suddenly the ceasefire comes, and the Congress government say, तुम लोग अच्छे लोग हैं, जहां से लड़ाई शुरू किया, come back and sit there. Then why the hell we did this war? Why so many Indian soldiers died? This was the spirit which I said that. Now tomorrow, if me being a soldier, so many soldiers have died to capture this 10 kilometers. Now afterwards, you give me an order and come back and sit in this 10 kilometers. I'll be pointing the gun tomorrow onwards towards this Atma, the souls of my soldiers, which I don't like it. So this is the spirit which I generated. Then suddenly I put Vajpayee Saab sound. I said, Vajpayee Saab said, pin drop silent was in the theater. He said, Colonel Saab, भारत का प्रधानमंत्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी बोल रहा हूं। आप जहां पे खड़ा है वो हमारा जमीन है। मुड़ के उनको बोल दो, झंडा वहीं गाड़ के उनको बोल दो जय हिंद। You don't believe, gentlemen, the whole stadium wrote saying that ki Bharat Mata ki Jai. In that there was a communist guy, in that there was a Muslim, there was a Christian, they all forgot. Suddenly they realized we are Indians. This is what I generated the spirit through the media, which is very powerful in my films. That's why I said, I will not waste time. Because if I do a film in 2 years or 3 years, I'll be making this kind of films. Then, what we are seeing, now I want to come out with, now let me ask you something that, there was Udham Singh. How many of you know about the history of Udham Singh? Might be knowing, rest of the people don't know. But, Sonia Gandhi कौन है? आपको सबको पता है कि नहीं? Because वो generally वो TV में आता है and she'll be saying a lot of English converted to Hindi and speaking it out. All know. Udham Singh is a person I want to make a film if I can make it, because Udham Singh is a person who saw the killings at the age of 20 years. Jallianwala Bagh, 1,400 Indians were killed, and that man had the determination to chase this General Dyer and went and killed him in London. This is an Indian. So why are you forgetting about this kind of thing? This is, we can recreate through the films and tell this new generation. And what dialogue he said at the last? If my hero stands up and says that General Dyer, after killing him, he said, my pistol has got 6 more bullets again. I am not killing anybody. Here is my gun. I just want to tell you that in front of me, you have killed 1,400 of my brothers and sisters and children. I, as an Indian, I chased you to your place. I wanted you to go back to your country, and I came here and I wanted to kill you where your assembly is sitting, and I killed him. This is what a patriotic Indian. There lies a heroism. How many of us remember about it? Me like person is here to make these kind of films, to generate and remind you this freedom didn't come just like that. The freedom has gone from us now. From 80 onwards, the freedom has gone. 1980, Sonia Gandhi came to our country, and afterwards, what happened to this country? I got the data. The Italian economy, GDP rate has increased so much. How it happened? Why you people are not talking about it? And me as a filmmaker, why should, now, unfortunately, what happens? Till the last year, there was a president, and somebody was operating remotely, and I didn't know there was a prime minister also, but I didn't know about it. Today I can proudly say that we got a prime minister, because when he speaks in front of the Americans in Hindi, he decided to speak in Hindi. Why? Because he doesn't know English. He proved that he knows English. That is why he spoke in Australia 40 minutes. He was determined that he will speak in Hindi only. Why? Because that is a place which refused his visa to go there, and all this video conferencing and everything was stopped by them. But he said, "मैं हिंदी में ही बात करूँगा." There I feel that now 56 इंच का छाती नहीं चलेगा बोला था किसी बेटी ने बोला था वहाँ पे. Now I'm asking that Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. Let me ask you one thing. Why was I delayed? Why was I asked to delay this operation for 36 hours? When I cornered Shivarasan and gang on 18th of August night, 10 o'clock, I got the permission to enter the hideout, which was about 3 meters away from me, on 20th morning, 5 o'clock. In between, all the surprise element was lost. We commandos are not superhumans. We work on surprise element. So, the surprise was lost. Finally, on 19th evening, this LTD gang, I am the first person and last person to see Shivarasan alive, because we had a face-to-face firefighting. The fire which he did on me, my buddy has caught it, but he didn't die, because I am always lucky. Not a single commander under my command got a single scratch other than this officer. I make sure always that. So these kind of spirit, I don't want to die with this spirit. So this media, why can't we use this filmmaking media to tell these people and generate these kind of things, rather than showing the bikinis and charas and ganja and drinking and all these things. Rather than that, why don't we? And for that, we have to have that Hindu spirit. Hinduism means, it is not, Hinduism means Nair, Nambiar, Chaudhary, wo nahi hai. This is a Sanskriti, this is a culture. And we got a heritage of that. This is what I want to hold it. And I'll be holding it through my films. No matter how many films, you will not be seeing quite often the films come. Why? Because getting a producer for this thing without item number is a big problem. So, I'll have to convince, I'll have to get a patriotic film producer to come up. So, everyone asks, why don't you make these films in Hindi? Now, the problem is that Hindi mein to pehla question yahi hai na, kitna market hai ye? To kaun hai? Item number kitna hai? Latest numbers. But Fauji purana aadmi hai. I don't know what is his item number. I've seen all these things, but I can't make it. I can't shoot it like that. Because his spirit, that is in me. That will not die like that. So I would like to tell you something. I think my time is over. So more than that, if I go further. So I want to ask you about this Rajiv Gandhi assassination thing again. Your media is there and so many people who can now start shouting. Ask one question to Mr. D.R. Karthikeyan, who happened to be the SIT chief that time. Why did you not give the permission to Major Ravi to end this thing on 18th? No. You will be thinking that his selfish interest and all this thing. The thing to be delayed so that the truth will not come out. Today you say that LTT killed. I am saying LTT didn't kill him. They're just mercenaries. When Rajiv Gandhi died, that time you haven't seen the video cassette, which is unfortunately or fortunately today from the investigation team, it is missing. That video cassette, I have seen it time and again during that investigation. Rajiv Gandhi put the garland on this Indira Gandhi's statue. That time the whole Congress people are there, as usual. Wherever this frame of this 24-inch TV or something, they'll push it inside, whatever it is, their heads. So hundreds of people you can see. The moment he comes down and start walking towards this dais, 125 meters distance, and there was a passage, security passage. After the passage, there is an open area, security area. Now, when Rajiv Gandhi started walking towards this dais, all these people were withdrawing themselves. Why did they withdraw? Why was this investigation team didn't investigated on this Congress people, those who were there? This question has to be asked. Only a couple of police people, 45 people died. That 45 people, suddenly Sonia ji says that isko maaf kar do. You got only one, your husband. Yeah, 45 police people have died. Unki beeviyon se to pucho. Ask their wives and children. They are not looked after, they are not protected. Why are you not asking them? Suddenly you say that ki, नहीं उसको फाड़ा कर लो because election आने वाला है तो तमिलनाडु से वोट मिले. Everything is calculated with the votes. तो हमारा संस्कृति कहाँ गया? Husband मरे या कोई भी मरे, कुछ भी मरे, मेरे को वोट चाहिए बस. Then वोट मिलने के बाद में क्या किया? तरक्की के बारे में कोई बात नहीं करता. Nobody is talking about the prosperity. They talk about 2G, 3G, 5G, 6G, all G's and Sonia Ji and Manmohan Singh Ji and Rahul Ji. This is all the G's coming over. So this is a high time, ladies and gentlemen. We have to put together our brain. We have to strive towards this. Hamari jo Sanskriti ko, the culture of this Hindutva, it has to be brought out. And we have to lead our country towards the prosperity, because today, I said in Maharashtra also, I can say proudly that we got a Marad Prime Minister हमारा पास है. अभी काम करो ना. इससे पहले तो कौन Prime Minister का ये भी नहीं पता था ना. Now I will make films boldly, because last 10 years I was hesitant. वो कब censor का कटा जाएगा? Mind you, gentlemen, I made a film on this Rajiv Gandhi assassination. You will be surprised. My censor was postponed in Kerala. I don't know why it was getting postponed. Suddenly one day I get it, and when I went for that, 5 censor board members are there, and 2 people in white, they have come from Delhi to see my film, Congress people. So then where am I getting this freedom? Then only I realized why these 2 people are sitting here. I asked them, 5 members, and why these 2 people?
Luckily, they didn't understand what I am conveying. They went back and without any cut, the film got released. And the people who wanted to understand that, they could understand. But then, nobody took any action. Whenever I used to scratch these kind of things, when the Congress was ruling, they say, keep neglecting. The moment it flares up, it will create problem. Neglecting. When Subramaniam Swamy says something against her, neglecting. Usko bitha do. The moment it comes out, there will be a lot of skeletons coming out. So I want to ask, who killed Rajiv Gandhi? Still I don't know. Please find out. So thank you so much. And I'm really proud to be here and to see the spirit of the, the national spirit. I can see that. That is in you. I am charged. At this age of 58, I'm charged, retired but not tired, signing off. Thank you so much and Jai Hind.
Major Ravi has made 5 films till now. You just saw the 6th one. I think he lives and breathes films. And that is the stuff films are made of. What passion and what clarity. Major Ravi, I really salute you. And what he's done is just made a terrific revelation, which only he could have because he was the closest to the event. Maybe if there is someone to make note of, there have been a lot of tongues wagging about this incident of May 21st, 1991, when we lost our former Prime Minister. And there's a hell of a lot of speculation going about it as to what happened, what may have happened. Umpteen number of investigative commissions, but no conclusion as yet. Moving on, he referred to the kind of content we are getting in our entertainment. And he resents it, very rightly so. Lot of it is not so direct. It is very, very insidious. It doesn't really tell you this is how you should live, but that is what you decipher from it. The opulence, the hyperconsumption, the lust for new every month, every 15 days, whether you need it or not, are some of the values we are getting from the media we consume most, and it is not the news media. It is not the news media often that shapes our ideology, the worldview, the way we think, what we like or what we dislike. It is very often the entertainment media, the glitzy media, that is not supposedly telling or teaching you anything, but you imbibe things from there. How to be as competitive, as ruthless as you could be in order to succeed, or how to rise over your pettiness to something more profound, as he tries to tell in his films. We get both kinds of entertainment all the time. Often we are unable to choose. I remember in early 90s there was a film made supposedly to denounce rape, and when I saw the climax of the film, which happened just before the interval, when a heroine, in those days it was Kolhapure, Padmini Kolhapure, was about to be raped by someone acting there as Raj Babbar, there was a clapping in the hall. I couldn't believe. You had a hero who was effeminate. I mean, shown. He didn't appear in too many films those days. I'm forgetting his name. Deepak Parashar, yes. There was nothing macho about him. I remember we have a veteran film personality sitting in front of us who's made perhaps most number of films in his time. It was supposedly fighting rape, but somewhere it was giving sanction to this kind of a crime. It was on. There are a lot many such films and programs where how do you live beyond your means? How do you live your interpersonal relationships? What do you do with business, with moral dilemmas? A lot of these things get to us very insidiously very subliminally, without our knowing, get into our head and temper our behavior and influence our choices and decide the way we will behave when the time comes. It is to question those issues about entertainment media that we have an opportunity today, and I would like to call upon Srimati Sukanya Ramesh, and I must read her introduction. Ms. Sukanya Ramesh is a successful film actress with over 100 films to her credit. Delighted. Her achievements include state awards, Kalai Mamani Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, and a Filmfare, to name a few. Her stint in the small screen encompasses over 20 serials. Sukanya has recently found passion for writing and for composing music, culminated in the release of 2 musical albums, Aragu and Tirupati Tirukudai. Sukanya is also a classically trained Bharatanatyam dancer, has learned from none other than Srimati Rukmani Devi Arundel. I just got to know that half an hour ago. And has performed in many countries, her Bharatanatyam performances. She continues to teach Bharatanatyam, choreograph for films, direct telefilms, and give voice renditions and sing for films and advertisements. I present to you Ms. Sukanya Ramesh.
We ought to be proud to be one of the leading countries to make the highest number of films in a year compared to any other in the world. In the past, these films were of different genre, giving it a good balance of commercial and artistic values. The content of the films are usually dictated by the social, economical, and political conditions that prevail in society. What influences the gist of the film is a direct influence of the lifestyle of the people, their needs, their quest, artistic heritage, dominant religious practices, customs, rituals, and so on. In recent times, there seems to be more commercial films with either fantasized digital characters or unrealistic violent plots for a storyline. Whilst the audience appreciates such films, there's still a need for restoring and sustaining a balance in the genre of films produced and maintain a mutual respect for the 2 genders of people. In the early days, we could see movies based on all the mentioned ideas, patriotic themes that glorified Mother Bharat, Sita Kalyanam enacting an episode from the epic of Ramayana, Parthiban Kanavu depicting a literary marvel are all good examples of the films that maintain that balance. Of course, change is eventual, and particularly with technology improving leaps and bounds every second, the lifestyle of people and entertainment values change along with it. This, however, should not change our moral values, particularly when it comes to the role of women in Bharat cinema. This is a land that worships women as goddesses. Though secular, Bharat being a predominant Hindu society, many of the social habits are influenced by the Hindu moral values. Only a handful of films are conscious about this concept. As an actress and a Bharatanatyam dancer, my research process began with 2 starting points. One, of female dancers who made their entry into films, and the second of female actors who played character-centric roles. From what I understand, female artists did not enter films with the view that it was a lucrative profession to hold, but rather an artistically driven choice. Sheer passion for the art form alone, or social awareness and a desire to propagate patriotic thoughts were leading factors. As an example, I would like to mention the first Tamil film actress, producer and director, T.P. Rajalakshmi, who made her debut in the film Kalidasa in the year 1931. She consciously made films and featured in other films that raised social awareness, such as protesting British rule in Bharat and female infanticide. A noteworthy incident in her career in relation to the topic of today is that she once refused to wear a kacham or a tube top, in today's terms, and threatened to walk out of the movie Nandakumar if pressured. I was absolutely amazed at her stand on this issue. It showed courage, self-respect, dignity, and most importantly, responsibility. This information made me understand the value of responsibility, both in terms of personal welfare in the chosen career and the message that is being given through the character played that would reach the mass population. In analyzing the entertainment value or how the female glamour aspect plays such a huge role in today's cinema, I reverted back to the 30s and 40s to look at the role of dancers. As I understand, the first Bharatanatyam dancer to enter the Tamil cinema was Kamala Lakshman through the film Jagadala Pratapan in the year 1944. Whilst dancers like her and that of Padmini and Vaijayantimala followed her, featured in dance-centric films such as Tilana Mohanambal, Vanjikote Valiban, Kunjum Salangai, which popularized Bharatanatyam and helped to rectify the stigma attached to the art form, it subtly paved way to another area of glamour to explore. The dancer's glamorous beauty, the grand costumes and settings, the effect of mimetic actions in expressing their message were all instantly gratifying to the audience, leaving them wanting more. It is shocking to see the polarized status of a classical dancer in yesteryear films and an item number dancer of current films. Next slide, please. Credit goes to some of the outstanding film directors such as K. Balachandar, Bharat Raja, and Balu Mahendra. No. Please. Sorry. Credit goes to some of the outstanding film directors such as K. Balachandar, Bharat Raja, and Balu Mahendra, who have made films that are woven, that women-centric who have made films that are women-centric, identifying them as strong sex and marking them with great respect and dignity. Film industry in the 60s and 70s saw a rapid growth in producing films that were strongly influenced by the West. Scenes of bars and clubs and men smoking cigars and cabaret dance are all good examples. Palanginal Oru Maligai, a popular song from the 60s film, is a good example where one can see the whole outlook to be very Western. The style of dance, lyrics that contain dual meaning, and the lewd vocalization of the song all display a very sensuous effect. The impact of such scenes have on the audience is quite strong. In the 80s, a commercially successful film called Moonram Pirai portrayed an actress to be horny, seductive woman with a strong sexual urge. The dream song goes, Ponmeni Urugude, meaning, my golden body is melting. The singer makes voice effects of having sexual pleasure in the song whilst rendering the whole song in a husky and deliberate voice. This is derogatory, more so because it is not the dream song of a man, but the woman. The impact of such scenes could be dire in society. It probably could corrupt a young mind into doing perverting acts or demand such sensationalized behavior from women. And a woman could believe that that is exactly what she ought to do to please men. Very few films include sensuous scenes meaningfully. For example, there have been intimate scenes in films tastefully included only to help the storyline and not for the sake of it. Unfortunately, the reviews devalue such endeavors to mere vulgarity. It is a well-known fact that the film industry is male-dominated. Though female artists are equally talented and efficient, their portrayal in the films has always been either stereotypical or undermined. That is more so evident in the films of the past decade. Whilst this is a separate strand to speculate, the abusive and derogatory depiction of women in the media is out there for everyone to see. This is very evident in television serials. Most storylines here are family-oriented and tend to stereotype a horrific mother-in-law or an ungracious stepmother, demonizing these characters beyond belief. Quite often, women are seen as just glamour objects, used to just enhance the value of the main subject portrayal. For example, a shaving foam advert would portray a handsome man, booted and suited, with a skimpily dressed woman tagging along as his arm candy. Pressure for women to look a certain way is an unspoken campaign through some adverts for face cream or glossy magazines displaying pictures of photoshopped celebrities having unbelievably perfect bodies. The impact of such things on youngsters can be disastrous, paving way to adopting contrived methods to look fair, develop disorders, like anorexia and bulimia in pursuit of looking slim. Perhaps it is naive of us to think that women are uncomfortable with the idea of promoting themselves as sexual objects. Many women in the industry are more than willing to create a sexualized stereotype for themselves with the objective of gaining more popularity and commercial success. It is therefore imperative that we teach women that this is not the correct mindset to have and remind them of the ephemeral nature of success and fame in this particular industry. However, this is a vicious circle, since women only feel this way because they believe that it is what men expect of them. In order to change the mindset of these willing women, we need to first change the mindset of men. Men must be taught not to view women as sex symbols and to treat them as equals. There are several ways in which we can do this, ranging from increasing the teaching of social education in schools from a young age to campaigning and mainstream propaganda that carries this message. My next point is vulnerability. It is important to both the media and the audience. In most cases, the actresses do not find their way into the film industry through a training program or an acting institute. As a young and new entrant, much of the learning happens on the job. In some cases, women are so vulnerable as a new face venturing into the film industry with dreams of making it as a successful actress. To reiterate this point, I would like to quote an example from my personal experience of how vulnerability can be misused by the filmmakers. In my early career, despite eluding short D roles, I ended up being in a situation where I had to defend my case and take the issue up to the censor board to rescue my honor. The undisclosed idea by the director was to include a scene of a large number of nude women running frantically in chaos as part of a pivotal scene in the film. As I was the heroine, I was to be portrayed as such too. This was never discussed with me. Although nudity was certainly not something I had signed for in the contract, the filmmaker was keen to use a proxy to complete the scene. Coming to know of the scam, whilst on the shooting spot, I protested. But my confrontation had no effect. Though the film was completed and was a huge success, my experience of having to fight my case of dignity was quite bitter. It took a restraining order from the Delhi Censor Board for any abusive scenes to be excluded in order to protect my unblemished image as an actress. Not all is a success story like mine. Women fall prey to such irresponsible attitudes. This is what we need to change urgently. Unfortunately, the case remains that a large number of women have been brought up in conservative households in which girls are expected to do as told and be subordinate to the instruction and rules of patriarchy. It's high time that women are made aware of their basic statutory rights. The UN Conference on Women's Rights in Beijing in 1995 stated, "The gap between the existence of rights and their effective enjoyment derives from a lack of commitment by governments to promoting and protecting those rights and the failure of governments to inform women and men alike about them. It is the responsibility of the state to ensure that women are fully aware of their rights. Women need the reassurance to speak up about issues that make them uncomfortable or compromised, and support from the government will give them the confidence to do so. This is one of the many ways that we can ensure gender equality in the industry." My opinion is that a greater level of legislation can be inculcated into the industry. There needs to be a greater level of communication between the film industry, that is the censor boards and the government, so that we can ensure that these rights are under frequent protection. There is much to be learned from the West. Hollywood, without fail, produces at least one movie in a year which is festival themed, marking Christmas and Easter. Keeping in mind the need to cater for younger audiences, there are a number of animated films that are released in a year. This shows care and concern for the society that one lives in. It is heartwarming to see Bharat producing children's animation films such as Krishna and Hanuman. In recent Bharat films, the caption that says Smoking is injurious to health, being added with any scene depicting an actor involved in the act of smoking is an appreciable adaptation. Whether smoking should be depicted at all is another matter to discuss. Media has been such a powerful tool in reaching out public far and wide. Both good and bad things find their way in reaching the public. Media that is commercial by nature tends to stray every now and then from our moral values. The reasons for this can be financial benefits, ambitions of individuals to carve out a unique position for themselves, chauvinistic attitudes, and possessing power, to name a few. It is easy for the media to say that the public is demanding a certain commodity and therefore they supply it. But the concept of demand and supply is a two-way street. It is as much the responsibility of the receiver as it is of the supplier to ensure what is being asked for and being supplied is of the right nature. My definitive belief is that it is the responsibility of each individual, whether they are the producers or deliverers such as dancers, actors, actresses, spokespersons, and others, used for the purpose of communication, to take this task upon themselves and propel this change. It is their duty to maintain good conduct and not comply with any insensitive, illegal, or inhumane ways in their methods of delivering the job. In this way, the actions of all these individuals can have large-scale effects for the wider public. I have no doubt that with all the strands of media working together harmoniously in promoting humanity, we will soar higher as a successful nation. Jai Hind.
Sukanya ji, that was brilliant. In its sweep, it was comprehensive and very, very clear as to what position she's taken time and again. And really, it's praiseworthy it's commendable. It is worth noticing that she's put her career online often, her commercial interests online often, to stand her ground. In fact, that is the call we need to take, and we are called upon to take time and again. And I can't but help recall a very interesting example. In fact, I must tell you that I didn't care to verify it for the fear of it turning out to be wrong. It was so good that I wanted it to be true, and I never wanted it to be verified. This is the case of an endorsement when Pulela Gopichand was asked to endorse Coca-Cola. He's supposed to have turned down an offer which was very, very lucrative. Purely because he said, I am a sportsman, and a sportsman should not be asking youngsters to take to aerated, colored, synthetically flavored drinks. And Pulela comes from a very ordinary background. He's son of rural folks. He's not urban urbane. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's not known for his opulence and riches. Yet he turned out an offer when he had just been an All England champion, and he could have monetized that for huge other contracts, because once you become a Coke endorser, the whole lot of other brands also start eyeing you for such kind of offers. Yet he turned it down. And such is the kind of mettle we expect from our icons and heroes. I believe even Sachin Tendulkar once turned down an offer from McDowell's to promote their brand Number One, which was snapped up by perhaps one of his colleagues immediately. We are called, and these are very insidious ways, because whose icons are they at the end of the day? They are icons of young and impressionable, perhaps not even in their teens yet. And this is the stuff, these are the brands that they ought to be keeping away from. But this is part, and advertising is part of our entertainment. Our entertainment itself very often comes packaged with, very cleverly, such hidden embedded messages which influence our choices as we go. And on this, we have third speaker, very eminent speaker, and I must read out his introduction. Shri Priyadarshan Soman Nair is a Bharatiya film director, producer and screenwriter. In a career spanning almost 3 decades, Priyadarshan ji has directed over 80 films in several Bharatiya languages including Malayalam, Hindi, Tamil and Telugu. Though he began his career in Malayalam cinema in 1984, Priyadarshan ji has been mainly active in Hindi cinema for 2001 to 2010. Priyadarshan was one of the first directors in Bharat to introduce rich color grading, clear sound and quality dubbing through his early Malayalam films. I present to you with a whole host of questions staring at you, Sri Priyadarshan.
Good afternoon. This is a time generally we all feel a little sleepy. And thanks to Major and his emotional shooting. He started shooting first with AK-47, then with a camera, now with words. And definitely after an emotional talk of him, I don't know how how sensible others can talk and catch your mind. But anyway, in the morning only I just came to know that what am I supposed to talk. And Ravi just showed me the paper saying that, okay, you have to talk about how Bollywood can save India. Impossible. It can never. So then I didn't know, I'm very sure that it's not possible to make a long conversation on that. Anyway, then I found out 10 minutes I can talk a little bit about it. More than talking, I would like to ask few questions to myself which I may find answer from you. That's what my angle is all about. Still, I would like to put few things which is in my mind. Would like to say the Indian film industry is having a huge boost for the last 3-4 years. And the largeness has gone to the level of 100 crore clubs and 200 crore clubs. That's what the media call it by the collections and promotions of these movies. But this hugeness is not a healthy one. What's going on is a tumor of deterioration. By westernizing the Indian culture and art with gloss and glamour to achieve a mass appeal in a cheap manner. I should say that. I'm sorry for certain people sitting here. I know some of you will agree, some of you will not. See, this tendency actually is, I actually contribute a lot to the media, who, especially the entertainment media, who are actually promoting it because they really want to sell gloss and gossips. In the first place, I want to ask, the start itself is wrong. Why is it Bollywood? Because some journalist wrote long time back, he just wanted to call it Bollywood because English films are made in Hollywood. It's a hilltop. The name of the place is Hollywood. Why it is Bollywood? The first monkeys went and the other monkeys went behind. And finally, it came to the Oxford Dictionary. It's quite appreciable. I really don't know many of these media people, how they succeed to find their own words and make it convincing. Like, I've read quite a lot in Kerala, they call it mafia. Mafia, it is liquor mafia, it is blade mafia, it is bang mafia, a lot of mafias are there. What is it, mafia? It means my family. It's an Italian word, Cosa Nostra. And why they call it liquor mafia? Because any crime, now it looks like mafia is an alternate word for crime. They have changed the meaning in India. And they have succeeded. I don't know how soon it will come in the Oxford Dictionary. But this is the way. Now, when we, at one moment, we started realizing that many of our cities and towns have to change their name because it's all by the wrong pronunciations of the Britishers, the name became like that. So I would like to ask, if Bombay can become Mumbai, Madras can become Chennai, Calcutta can become Kolkata, why can't Bollywood also change the name? That should be the beginning, I think. Because what is the identity of the Indian cinema in the international scenario? It is, we have an identity of our own. That is, though it's called Bollywood now, okay, for the time being we'll call it like that. It is a derivation. The basic thing has come from our folklores, our plays, our mythological art expressions, which always had an important part for music. It was always conveyed to the people and entertained the people by music and words mixed together. The same technique has been followed by our earlier filmmakers which gave a proper definition to the Indian cinema and its style. So we should not be ashamed at all to say that why our films have songs. That's another way. This is our identity. Because, see, films in India started in 1917 with the film Langa Dahai. It's about Ramayana. In the silent era, and later Dada Phalke brought it Harishchandra. That is in 1932. See, 1913, huh? Oh, I'm sorry, there's a little confusion on that. These Google people also confuse us using. Okay, so it made a trend of entertainment with our Puranas, which conveyed strong feelings of ethics, logic, reasoning, philosophy, and clear-cut vision of social awareness in the mind of the people, and in an entertaining way. After it reformed into social and historic themes, but kept the value always. It always sent a message. It always talked a message. At the end of the film, we could tell the audience, those filmmakers always told the audience something good, something sensible, something for them to think. Of course, today it's easy with an SMS. We don't need to convey a message by making a movie. But at the same time, the basic culture we have forgotten in our art media, because we are highly getting westernized. This westernization has to be stopped because see, if you take it, it is 336 warring countries, and Britishers called it United it, and then we called it India. Before that, there was India, but it was not the India which we have seen today. Then, after they left, we have forgotten something. So much of influence of them has been here in our art form, and we could never take it forward. In year by year, we are getting more and more influenced by their method. Why should our films? Why can't we make films based on Ramayana? And recently, for an example, I was asking my daughter to read Mahabharata. She read it and said, "Come on, it's more interesting than Harry Potter." Yes, it is, but they are not realizing because we are not telling them, this generation, that okay, there is much more richer literature and richer thoughts in our country than what you are seeing every day on Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or Clash of the Titans. So we have to make them aware. The biggest problem I am seeing in the new generation of filmmakers today is, first thing, they are not aware of the culture. Second thing, they are not aware of the Indian literature. The third problem is they are only watching cinema and trying to make the cinema the same way as Westerners do. So there is no identity. The major problem again we are facing is, okay, we call it, why are we together? After the Britishers went, it was 366 warring states. Will it again become the same way as Telangana is becoming one and Uttarakhand has become one? Are we going back and dividing our country again back to those warring states? I don't know. That's where the Muslim attacks and British encroachment happen here. We are giving them the chance again. We have to stand united because we call it always, we have something called unity in diversity. That's our strength. The unity in diversity is our strength. We should not miss it, whether it is in art forms or whether it is in any other forms. So, when you coming back to, so basically I say here also for that, to achieve that, we need a revolution. Revolution in cinema. I can only talk about cinema. Anything can be told in an interesting way, because yesterday I was listening to Professor Vaidyanathan's speech on economics. That's the least interested subject in my life. I cannot understand, I can't even spell it properly. But when I went and sat there, I learned a bit, and I found economics very interesting because the way he has presented it, it was better than one of those most humorous films I have ever seen. I understood perfectly, this is the way to write a script. I wanted to ask him, can you write a script for me on economics? Because unbelievable he was. So, entertainment mixed into any serious matter can be conveyed in a much effective way than just putting it as an information. This is a way, if you say we are here on a World Hindu Conference, we have to market Hinduism also. To market Hinduism, we have to take the simplest way, whether it is through cinema, whether it is through media, other media, or through audio, visuals, or whichever other means. We have to market it. Market it how? We have to tell them. This is what the value. We had great universities like Nalanda and all in India, and people used to come and learn a lot of things from here till the 18th century, where deterioration started after that. Why can't we bring back? And the only way, and our richest, the strongest strength in our mind and in our culture, in the world we have, is an amazing philosophy called Hinduism. I hope the next generation will definitely understand that first and promote Indian cinema forward through that. Definitely I can say that the world will definitely get a big surprise. That the problem here, I've seen the youngsters, they are going too much into techniques today, not to the content. The content has to be strong, and there is enough material in our country, which they are ignoring because they are not reading. This is one habit I have been telling the young filmmakers, please read. Reading improves your imagination. Reading makes you a better visionary. So, for the revolution, there is educating cinema is the first. Then there are a little bit of this. I'll conclude it with few points. Taxation is another big problem which is facing the film industry today, because these 100 crore clubs and 200 crore clubs and a new generation filmmaker who's trying to attempt something new is taxed the same way, which he cannot afford, where he cannot afford superstars. When superstars are not there, there is no collection. There is no huge collection. How can I do my experiment if I want to try something different? So, definitely the one thing I want to suggest, or I would like any of you who could influence that section of the government to say that please consider, because it's the biggest income of India, because most of the panchayats in India are depending completely on the income of the film entertainment tax and paying their salaries. So don't ignore, it's a huge industry where this taxation has to be considered, at least for the films which is more close to the Indian culture and Indian art. Not, okay, they can divide it as commercial and non-commercial or something, because for the growth of such films, definitely there should be a taxation consideration by the government. Then, please, we should say, allow the filmmakers to have more freedom of expression. There is a huge problem we are facing with the censor board. I have to say that, because they have written rules, but rules are made as rules against creativeness. For example, I was just telling you, come on, you should not do cruelty to animals. I love animals. I was a couple of 2 films before, I remember. I was putting my film on censor. There was road scene when I'm shooting, there was a bullock cart owner, he's beating his bullock. It so happened it came in the background and they say cut the scene. What am I supposed to do? Because he was punishing his animal behind. But it's not my mistake and it is not in focus. It's something happened which is something which is happening in the road, which is not done by the creative person. He was pushing or tying it to the bullock cart or something like that. That is not. So the rules should not be even. Okay, sometimes we say you abuse. If you are making a film about Churchill, can you avoid smoking in the film? You can't. They said you have to put smoking in every scene. Which what size? Bigger than the name of the director. So half the scene is gone. You can't see that. These are not. There are much more effective ways that censor board has to discuss and bring things. For example, using abusive language. Okay, there are parliamentary language we call it, where people, to that extent, people can abuse it, because the most important thing in a sequence is that when we are shooting a scene, the censor board has to decide whether that scene has an effect with that language or not, or will it do any damage to the listener. This discrete, I mean, there should be this kind of border lines to be drawn perfectly. It should not be drawn. It should be, the creative people should be more there than implementing rules just as it is printed. So it gives little more freedom to the filmmaker. So at the end, I just want to say, like Ravi said, we need more patriotic movies. I have seen patriotism in India, amazing way, only when India plays Pakistan or India plays West Indies or England. There is huge unity. Why can't we have the same unity as Indians? See, if you go to London, you'll see an Englishman. If you go to Paris, you'll see a Frenchman. If you go to America, you'll see an American. And if you come to India, you'll see a Marathi, Gujarati, Malayali, Bengali. Where is the Indian? This is a question I am asking you, because this is something we should, that's what I was talking about, unity and diversity, which should happen in cinema also, in every art form also. This is what I want to tell the youngsters who are trying to become filmmakers in India. Let's do something and think that we are Indians and take the industry forward. We can do a lot, because it's the most powerful media of communication. We can do a lot to save our country to entertainment in a most decent and cultural way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Priyadarshan. I think that sums it all up very comprehensively. We are at the end of the session, and I throw open the house for questions from the audience.
Venkatraman. Mr. Ravi, even during your entertainment section, you have given a very serious start. You made two statements, very important statements. For the last 24 years, you are hiding the facts with you regarding the Rajiv Gandhi assassination. One, you said the LTTE was not responsible, or they are not killed the Rajiv Gandhi, number one. Number two, the civil as an issue, when you say that when you know the truth, background reality, why you are not coming out telling the facts to the people who was really culprit? Why are you hiding the facts? This is the time has come. You spell out who is really responsible for the Rajiv Gandhi assassination.
Can I answer you, sir?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. This operation happened on 20th of August 1991. And if you take out the India Today of the September edition, Captain Ravi, we got some army rules. We are not supposed to talk to the media without the permission. But I, as an individual, I thought, as an Indian, it is my duty to tell the truth, and I openly said that truth in that India Today 3 pages interview was there. Because I took the risk of army questioning me. But fortunately, army chief happened to read that interview, and I'm always a lucky person. I never get killed or never get fired. So army chief calls me on, after this, when I finished this, Romanian ambassador Radu was kidnapped in November, and I went and rescued him and then came back. Suddenly I get a call. Army chief will interview at 3 o'clock today evening. Morning I get a call. And I knew that Ravi, Captain Ravi, you're finished. Now you pack your baggage and everything. Everything was packed up and ready. Because I was supposed to move to Udhampur. I went there. I was selected as the security ADC to Army chief because he read this news and he took it in the positive sense because I said the truth, nothing else. I asked this thing time-wise, this thing happened. Afterwards, 2007, I made this film, Mission 90 Days. I said this truth, this operation was delayed, how it was delayed, Karthikeyan, how he was in Hyderabad and he didn't come and everything, I showed it. Now, no one asked me anything, even after seeing the film. Nobody has raked up this issue, that is what I said. Whenever I talk about this Rajiv Gandhi assassination thing, nobody rake up the issue. When Subramanian Swamy keep talking about these kind of things, nobody rakes up. Neglect him. Because the Congress government was ruling. They never wanted these kind of things to come up again. Today, why I said, now not only today, I have been trying to approach the central government and asking them, sir, why don't you take up this case again? Indian citizens would like to know that who killed our Prime Minister. I said our Prime Minister. When you talk about Prime Minister, I don't consider which party it is. I always say our Prime Minister. And I used to respect and I used to love Rajiv Gandhi a lot. And when he died on that 21st of May night, I was a duty officer in this place, NSD headquarters. I passed all the messages in 5 minutes at 10:32 to 10:45. I sat and cried because I personally used to like him. There is no politics in that. That time I prayed God, give me this opportunity. Whosoever killed him, I want to cast him. After 10 days, I got this order to join the society in Chennai and I did it. So I believe in, that is what I said, I am a true, that Hindutva believe. I believe in God, Mata, Pita, Guru, everything I believe. So you cannot say that I didn't try. Then there are certain things. After retiring from the army, you are not supposed to reveal for 10 years. That's a cooling time. I'm not supposed to tell what happens in the army. I'm not supposed to. Now it is 16 years. Now I stand up and say, why? Because suddenly I hear that all these people will be left free without anybody's consent. Why this 23 years it took for this decision to come? When Ajmal Kasab was hanged in 2 years, why it was not done in 2 years or 3 years? Because Ajmal Kasab was not involved with any political party in this country. So there will be, why don't we all think that why this case was delayed so much? Now I am throwing this question to you all. I want the public to react that why Major Ravi asked this question. Why no politician was questioned during that assassination case? Why this thing happened? Nobody politicians died other than Rajiv Gandhi and 45 police people. Why that side nobody is taking serious issue of it? So we want to know that. That is why now I am saying. And I have been saying from 2007. And in 1991 I gave a detailed India Today interview. The first, that third page interview was there. I had given everything, but nobody cared because there was people who were ruling. They didn't want anything to talk about this issue. Now at least ask before I die or somebody kill me. So someone has to answer for it. Every individual has got this right. John F. Kennedy death, still it's a mystery. Similarly, Rajiv Gandhi assassination also is a mystery. I'm not saying LTT didn't kill. LTT killed them. But they were just mercenaries. That is what we want to find out. We have to. As a true patriotic Indian, I would love to know that I am ready to face any inquiries in this regard. For that I need a strong central government. I think we are now. That's it. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Yeah, we can have more interactions.
Surely, sir. Thank you.
Yes, John. Identify yourself.
I'm Ramesh Gandhi, President Gandhi Foundation, and also from a media and advertising work. We salute your patriotism and the way you expressed. I'm talking on the other part of the presentation which you said, though it was very small, my question on that. About smoking and alcohol. Very few directors and producers have the courage of producing such a film and avoid the lucrative aspects which are offered for projecting smoking and alcohol scenes in the film. I'm saying this because I am WHO's member on Southeast Asian countries on anti-smoking. My question is that
I have been the president of the producers organization for several years. This is absolutely wrong. No producer gets money.
That's true.
There
It may be happening in Hollywood, not in India.
Maybe. Question is not on that. My question on that is that in India, because of tobacco, more than 2,500 people are dying every day. I'm repeating the number, 2,500 every day. It is as per the ICMR reports. And patriotism is, of course, protecting and having pride in the country, but very few filmmakers have the courage of making film on these aspects. So both two film producers and directors are there on the dais.
I would like to answer it. Okay.
So
First we have
will anybody from the film industry have the tendency of making a film on this aspect, which is whereby saving 2,500 people every day? And I have a very strong script and a background of 11 years of experience on that. I can contribute on that.
I got a lot of script, but give me a producer. Without I don't know.
We'll find out.
Okay.
We'll find out.
I think we have bigger problems because 65 we have around even now actually we are 65% below the poverty line. There are more people dying of poverty. Can we make a film on that first and come to this? This is what I'm thinking about. This country is still 65% below poverty line. That's actually people who who can hardly eat one time. And the people dying, if you take the graph of people dying of poverty, that's much more than people dying with smoking. So we should give preference to that first, then we should come to this.
Yes, some more questions.
Alright, I just have one question. My name is Sandeep.
Where? Yes, please,
yeah.
go ahead. Sandeep.
Yeah, for Mr. Priyadarshi. So this 100 crore club, I mean, some journalist told me, this 100 crore club, 200 crore club you spoke about, my sources are pretty strong. They say that it is just a front for money laundering. How true is this?
No, again I'll answer.
Yeah, please. He knows it better.
Let me, first of all, I don't know about your sources, let me just clarify this once and for all. The numbers which are given are gross numbers. Okay. Now, what is a gross? Gross is the price you pay
For the ticket.
For the ticket.
That's it. Yeah.
Now, out of that,
There's tax.
there is entertainment tax. There's sometimes local body tax.
Exhibitors.
Then whatever comes, 50% of it goes to the exhibitor, the cinema guy. Then the balance 50%, 25% goes to the distributor who distributes it. Then the balance comes to it. So actually the 200 crores collection is not wrong.
A lot of films are, which is collected more than 100 crores loss.
The fact is that you have to understand that the producer is not getting 100 crores.
Exactly.
He's probably out of the 200 gets 50 crores. And if a film costs 100 crores to make and he makes 50 crores, then where is the profit?
I'm telling you the fact. Most of this, I mean, half of the thing is lie. So the rest of it is what they are projecting the cost. Is actually those producers next film they are begging for finance. I know that truth.
Okay, my question is to the chairman of this panel. I run a school. Okay, so what we do is from first class we teach students, especially girls, that revealing clothes are bad. And we do that 12, 13 years till they are our schools. And they see movies and TV in which revealing clothes are being flaunted in name of modernity. So I strongly believe that 200 years back we had schools and ashram for education. Now education is from schools, films, advertisements. So shouldn't we consider all these three in terms of education? Why we are just considering media as entertainment only? These are education part.
Yes, I think you have a point. And we are talking about a larger issue. This is the issue of values, what kind of society do we build for ourselves? Media is one aspect of it. Why it is an important aspect of it is because of its mass nature, its ability to reach at once millions of people in a large screen through celebrity icons. Its ability to impact their minds and their choices is far more than a teacher in a classroom addressing 25-30 people or a curriculum. Though responsibility also lies there. I'm not saying that there is a conflict, only media must take this responsibility and schools should not and parents should not, or the neighborhood and the society should not. It is a collective responsibility, it cannot lie at one hand. At the same time, I think we need a rational discourse in our society, because whenever such issues are raised, there is a bandwagon that comes on you like a ton of bricks and calls you moral police. Who gives you the right to impinge on individual freedom? These are the questions we face. And we must actually address these issues in terms of where do you find a balance between an individual choice and freedom and an overall societal value, collective value, because we live together. We don't live in isolation as islands. We impact each other, we live amongst each other, we deal with each other on a regular, everyday, daily basis. So, where do these societal needs end and the individual needs prevail, and where do the individual needs need to be tempered in order to belong to a collective social value system? It is a matter of debate. Nobody can force it upon from top. So therefore, value building. And I would like Swamiji to intervene on that.
Generally, fashion in our society, we male and give sermon to our ladies what to wear, what not to wear. Just like this man is telling you, we educate our girl not to reveal the body. Because I face this type of question regularly. I was in Sri Lanka, we have our youth camp. One side boys were sitting, one side girls were sitting. One boy asked question, Swamiji, nowadays our girls are wearing western dresses. I said, okay, fine. I requested all the girls, please stand up. They all stand up. I requested them, count how many girls are wearing Indian dress, traditional dress, and how many are western dress. 99.5% girls were in traditional dress, their salwar, kameez, whatever kurta. Then I asked the boys, how many of you stand up? They stand up. How many of you are wearing western dress and Indian dress? 99%, 99% boys were in the western dress. None of them were in the Indian dress. So boys has no right to talk on this issue. Here in this conference, there is one gentleman. He is my own Karkarta. He is a very highly qualified man. He also talks about all these things. He himself is a always pant, shirt wearing man. His wife always wears sari. I told you, you have no right to talk on these issues. Secondly, I will tell you my experience. Naya Delhi metro bana tha. So I was going to Delhi University. Delhi University, when you bahar nikalte ho na metro se upar chadhte सीढ़ी से, one boy was जैसे जैसे चल रहा था, उसका पैंट ढीला था. So I asked, hey, तेरा पैंट ढीला है, तू टाइट कर. तो यूं किया और फिर पैंट ढीला हो गया उसका. तेरा पैंट ढीला है, तू ठीक क्यों नहीं कर रहा है? नहीं, ये फैशन है, इससे ऊपर जा ही नहीं सकता. How I will be surprised, उसका पैंट का अंडर पैंट भी दिखाई दे रहा था. है ना, पैंट का अंडर पैंट भी दिखाई. हम लोग के समय पैंट पहनते थे, नाभि तक बेल्ट उट लगा के टाइट रहते थे. This is what I am telling. So we have no moral right. First, boys should understand.
Can I just say something to what you just said? And I think this should go to all the men in this country. The other day I was in the park, and I'm not kidding. I saw a man in his boxers. A man in his boxers are underwear. Men roam around in this country wearing underwear, and you're talking about women wearing skimpy clothes. Please, there are no women roaming around in Delhi or anywhere wearing skimpy clothes. I mean, at least not like the undergarments. You know, this thing on, you know, why do we have these rules for women? Please apply them to yourselves as well.
My name is Mano. I'm from Australia. I'm living in Australia for the past 17 years. Good to see producers who are taking patriotic films, are really patriotic, not taking it for the commercial reason. Good to see dignified actresses and all that. This question is not for the speakers, for the media who are all here. Sometimes when we see movies or clippings, video clippings from here, from India, taken in India by the foreigners, everything bad in India is shown, which we have not seen those areas, all with the cattle and beggars, everything which is bad, and foreigners coming and interviewing Indians. Who is giving them permission? Any of the media people or the producers, can you take your camera to Australia and interview and bring it back and show them here without anyone's permission? So who is giving them the permission? No permission is given. Oh, so they come and take, and that's what is shown as India, projected as an India. Anything good about India is only Taj Mahal. Everyone knows about only Taj Mahal. Or even in the scientific conference I'm talking about, the front page is one Taj Mahal or the snake charmer, with a snake charmer or a slum. That's what is portrayed outside India.
Highest suicide is one of the towns in the world is Nikeri in Suriname. They are farmers, but every afternoon they look television till the night. Why women only drink jahar and they jump and so on in all those films? The same question of the soap series. If we have Hinduism, the relation, my biggest question is the relations between Hinduism and the film industry. As Bagban have made money and we have learned something about Parivarka, you know, father, mother, and kids, and so on. So why can't they make also these educational films related to the Hinduism and only the 100 crores or 500 crores? Let's make some more of these films and less suicide. Only women have suicide here in India or something. So the same thing I want to add, that this soap series, Ghar Ghar Ka Jhagra, Saas Pato Ke Jhagra, only, I'm telling you, these soap series are against Hinduism. And I hope you will do something on it. Please, honestly, it's not good for our kids, honestly.
I think for a supplementary question, it was quite a comprehensive comment. I would like Dattaji to respond to it.
No, I'm not responding.
Dattaji.
I have a different point, not responding.
So you tell me.
We are discussing about the entertainment media. What the speakers have told, they are wonderful things. I have been watching films right from childhood, like all of us. One is caricaturing. Many of our films, they caricature, and because of that, all politician is a corrupt politician. All pujaris are this. All baniyas are like this. So this type of stereotyping and caricaturing has created a different type of atmosphere in the society that the whole society, and right from a young age, people develop these things in the minds. On the other hand, I am yet to see films, those who have come out with great films about Ramayana or Harishchandra in the olden days, and then great films about the war films like LOC, etc., or Border. They are great patriotic films. But there are people who have contributed in the field of science, architecture. There are many people who have contributed, like Tata, others, in business and industry. So such good films, if they come in the present context in this country for national development, they may contribute in a great way. I am yet to see Bombay Bollywood films to come out such things.
Mr. Kiran Ramsahai, friend from Mauritius, who's the editor of Le Matinal, the largest selling French newspaper of Mauritius.
Yeah, I have no question to ask except to respond to a comment made by this lady from Australia. who said that, is there anybody that would change the perception that India is not an island where you have snake charmers? I remember somebody called Narendra Modi ji in New York a couple of weeks ago saying that yes, that's something of the past, where in India we had people playing with snakes. Now we have a whole nation playing with mouse, computer mouse.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I come from Orlando, Florida, Hindu University of America. In America, we face a lot of challenges because our kids keep asking about the significance of the murtis. Like this Ganesh, how can he sit, such a big body, sit on the mouse? American college students come to the temples and they want to know what is Hinduism, just like you can go to a church or go to a mosque and find out what is Islam and what is Christianity, and they give out a lot of literature. When they come to the Hindu temples, it's very unfortunate that no pujari can explain what Hinduism is. And what they tell them is, we wake the god up at 5 o'clock, we dress him up and feed him, and then 2 o'clock we put him to sleep, we put the god to sleep.
Could we have a question related to this panel?
Yeah, question is, can there be a producer who can make a movie? We have come up with a booklet.
No, thank you so much. There are so many movie ideas on this table already.
Sure.
It will take a dozen odd producers and maybe a few years to put them all in action.
I really actually wanted to say that movie, just like any other business, movie making is a business.
You're right.
And it's not a charitable thing. Oh, sorry.
If I may interrupt, I'm not sure if you've watched the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Honey, I Blew the Kids. If they can believe that, why not a mouse? And this is very evident in Ramayana itself. Hanuman was able to shrink himself and go inside a Rakshashi's mouth and come out, and she was bigger enough to even...
What I'm saying is, there is the more significance to it, which is explained here. What is the significance?
No,
of
certainly. We got you,
so
made
we
your
have
point.
distributed these copies to everybody.
Thank
Whoever
you.
hasn't got it can take one.
Thank you. There are questions. The Swamiji at the back has a question. He hasn't participated yet.
Sorry, I'm not asking a question, just
You have a comment.
sidetracking. Pardon me for that, Mr. Chairman. We always read the constitution of every country, and there is a statement, freedom of expression is a must. But Hinduism believes in freedom over expression. If somebody calls me, Swamiji, whenever I look at your face, I pray to Hanuman. I do Hanuman Chalisa, I get the point that I am a monkey-faced man. But you don't go and directly look at the person and say, oh, monkey, come here. So we have freedom over expression. Freedom of expression is not there for a man, because animals express, no consequences. But when humans express, there is a consequence.
Thank you, Swamiji. I think that was one point which shouldn't be lost on anyone. Do we have questions, sir?
एक क्वेश्चन कभी-कभी देखने में आता है कि जो फिल्म इंडस्ट्री है, कभी-कभी फिल्म ऐसी बनती है जो कि हिंदू धर्म के खिलाफ बड़ा जबरदस्त अनर्गल प्रलाप करती है और हिंदू देवी देवताओं का अपमान होता है। उस समय कई बार एक डिलेमा की स्थिति होती है कि हम जैसे जो धर्म प्रेमी लोग हैं उस फिल्म का विरोध करें या ना करें। करते हैं तो वो फिल्म अल्टीमेटली पॉपुलर हो जाती है और नहीं करते तो लगता है यार कि उसका विरोध नहीं किया तो फिर ऐसे तो लोगों को हौसले बुलंद हो जाएंगे। मुझे थोड़ा सा ये पैनल ये एडवाइस करें कि आखिरकार उस केस में क्या करना चाहिए धर्म की रक्षा के लिए।
यहाँ कोई ऐसा पब्लिक कोई ऐसा स्टंट होता है कि क्या फिल्म को प्रमोट करने के लिए जस्ट लाइक कुछ में कुछ डेरोगेटरी डाला जाए और उसके बाद उसका कुछ संगठन विरोध करें और उसके बाद उसको फिल्म को पब्लिसिटी मिली, तो ये क्या डायरेक्टर या प्रोड्यूसर के ऐसा कुछ दिमाग में भी होता है क्या?
ऐसा कुछ it certainly happens because it is not a purpose, it is not a choreographed plan or something like that. We write stories and we make it, and afterwards somebody will try to find a fault in that, and that fault can be a controversial topic. Other than that, I don't think, but then how we make the film, definitely, in my first film, I showed a rape for 10 minutes. You'll be surprised in an army film, I showed 10 minutes rape. Now, who is raping and who? 7 militants raping 3 Kashmiri girls. Now, incidentally, what I wanted to tell to the Indian Muslims, I wanted to convey that, listen, after all, you are Indians. Start saying yourself, Indians. So, in that, I put this dialogue. And in the 10 minutes, mind you, gentlemen, not a single frame was cut by the censor. There were 2 ladies sitting there. I was afraid that they are going to cut this rape sequence. But they didn't cut a single, a single feet out of it. And they said that, Major, you showed an agony of a female who gets raped. So it is not that the sexual parts to be shown or revealing the body part. I showed only the face of that woman because I respect women. So everybody could understand it's a rape. Now in that I conveyed that. When this militants talk, this lady requests, "Arey, tum bhi Musliman hai, hum bhi Musliman hai, aisa kaisa kar sakta hai?" That's the time I put this dialogue. "Arey बढ़िया, तुम कौन सी इस्लाम की बात कर रहे हो? हम पाकिस्तान के लोग तो तुम लोग हिंदुस्तान के जो मुसलमान को मुसलमान नहीं मानते हैं। मैं यहाँ का, हम लोग यहाँ का हिंदू, हमारे लिए तो यहाँ के एक हिंदू मरे या क्रिश्चियन मरे या मुसलमान मरे, हमारे लिए एक हिंदुस्तानी है." That's the time this lady crivelled. "Good that you reminded me that I'm an Indian." This is the way I conveyed, and there was a big clap for this kind of scene. So it is how we convey. But that time, if somebody wanted to take a point out of it, they could have really sued me and it could have been a controversy. Why? Because there is a dialogue. This lady says that, "हम भी कुरान पढ़ा है, हमारे कुरान, जो कुरान मैंने पढ़ा है उसमें ये नहीं, कत्ल करना, जिना करना, this rape करना is not written. अगर तुमने जो पढ़ा हुआ कुरान में ये सब कुछ है और तुम कहता है कि मैं मुसलमान हूँ, उस कुरान के ऊपर मैं थूक रहा हूँ" करके बात करता है. Why? Because that is the way we have to convey it. Now a real Islam's, because that is why I said in that area my collection was too much. Why? Because they said, they give one director, first time they said, "We are Indians." So why don't we take all these people? Our Hindus are very prominent for this thing. We can tolerate anything. We'll tolerate. So what tolerance means? Let us show this tolerance and tell them that, listen, be like this. Otherwise, if you start coming towards us with the jihad, then तो बात ही कुछ अलग है. उसको oppose करना भी हमें आता है. But don't ever threaten with this jihad to us. हम तुम्हें सीने पे लगाएंगे. But हिंदुस्तान की वो spirit जो तुम्हारा दिल में लगा के, then you come. Then we'll take you. We will carry you along with you. So that is what we require. So film can have controversies like this. It's not a choreographed one. Thank you.